Hi guys, John Florez again, and it's a couple of days after Christmas 2023, and I'd really like to share this with you. Part of this has never been shared before, only the people involved know about it, and it's kind of interesting. It's behind the scenes stuff, it's kind of personal, and I didn't want to tell it before, but what the hell, I've run out of stories, and I'm going to tell you about it, okay? But we'll begin with stuff you probably already know. Back in 1971, Eddie Rosenblatt called me into his office at Talent Associates Records, and he said, "John, I have a singer I'd like you to listen to." And in walked Lynda Seals and her manager, whose name I think was Joe Porter, and Lynda sang me a couple of things a cappella with Eddie right next to me, and Eddie said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, let's sign her." And we signed Lynda Seals to a recording contract at Talent Associates Records. Now, disclaimer, 5 Flights Up, my group that I left RCA with, had had a hit on Talent Associates Records that Eddie was largely responsible for, and he promoted it, did the sales on it, and was basically the behind-the-scenes mover and shaker that made J.B. Bingham and 5 Flights Up Do What You Want to Do, which J.B. sang lead on and wrote, into a hit record. Now, Talent Associates was distributed by Bell Records, which was famous for cute, catchy little items like, I don't know, Knock 3 Times, Oh My Candida, Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Almost the bubblegum genre with a lot of their stuff at the time, other than The Fifth Dimension. And The Fifth Dimension, as you know, was the #1 act on Bell Records before it became Arista Records under Clive Davis's management. Okay, so here's basically a bubblegum-ish type of label that is distributing Talent Associates Records. Okay, so Talent Associates pays for the project, but then Bell takes it out and tries to promote it and sends the sales team out and sends it out to distributors, etc. Talent Associates didn't have that ability. Talent Associates previously was known for producing the Get Smart TV series, fabulous stuff, and David Susskind, some of you know what a legend he is in the broadcast industry, owned Talent Associates Records and Productions. Okay, long story short, I took Lynda Seals into the studio, and moron that I was at the time, I wasn't considering the distributing label Bell Records, who had to promote what I was producing. What I did at the time was I took an artist and matched them with the material that I thought most matched who they really were deep inside. So I tended to lean toward who is the artist, what are they really about, and let's see if I can make that happen. In Lynda's case, Lynda was 17 years old. Okay, that's just amazing. It's kind of almost back to the Brenda Lee days, if you can remember her with I'm Sorry and her other big hits. Brenda Lee was a teenage singer whose voice did not sound like she was a teenager. Well, Lynda Seals was the same. Lynda Seals had this deep, mellow, jazz-leaning voice. And I'm really not going to say that I thought Lynda Seals was a star for the 11 years I was with her, because I don't know that stuff. I primarily just recorded who I was given, who was assigned me. And in this case, Lynda was assigned. I loved her voice. It's not for me to determine whether she's a star or not. It's just for me to go make a good record. So with this 17-year-old, very mellow, very mature, sounding like a 30 or 40-year-old jazz stylist, I went in and I cut 2 6/8 jazz ballads on Lynda for Bell Records, the teeny bopper, bubblegum-leaning label. It ain't going to happen, but I didn't know that at the time because I wasn't thinking promotion and marketing and sales. I was thinking what's best for my artist. So we cut a Tim Hardin song, It'll Never Happen Again, and a Lovin' Spoonful tune called Didn't Want to Have to Do It, which had been a successful single in the past. So John was covering his bases by making sure that there was a known tune in the mix in case radio would pick up on that one instead of the lesser known tune, It'll Never Happen Again. So I want you to have a brief listen to just a quick cut of both of those 6/8 ballads Earl Palmer, the jazz drummer, on drums, and Clarence McDonald, who went on to become legendary in the music business, both as an arranger, producer, pianist, and all of that. He was the vocal arranger for the Friends of Distinction when I did them, and he's a very talented guy. Plus, he brought in his group at the time, which was called Sound 70, an all-male, all-black, fabulous harmony group. And that group, Sound 70, is singing the background vocals for It'll Never Happen Again and Didn't Want to Have to Do It. So what we have is a 6/8 ballad, jazz drummer feel, with a black background vocal group, and a very interesting 6/8 ballad date, okay? Jazz ballad date. Here are a couple of quick excerpts, okay? Okay, so moron that I submitted that to Bell Records, and Harvey Cooper, who was head of promotion West Coast for Bell, said, "John, I can't sell this." I said, "What, Harvey?" And he said, "No, I can't sell this." And I said, "Okay, what would you like me to do?" And he said, "Go back in and try something else." And I said, "Okay." So I went to Lynda and I said, "Look, here's what we're going to do. Let's try a concept session. I'm bringing you a couple of Gene Pitney cuts that were both huge records at the time that Gene Pitney cut them. And that's Half Heaven, Half Heartache, and I'm Gonna Be Strong. And I'm going to add Five Flights Up as the background vocals. So we not only have you doing a couple songs that were big smash hits before, I'll have my hit Talent Associates artists singing with you, and that should help both, not just the sound, but in the promotion, because Five Flights Up is on the charts. Okay, sounds like a winner. No, but anyway, ha! Went in, cut it. Johnny Guthrie, my lifelong friend, is playing a great job on drums. Gene Page, the famous black arranger, did these masterful, big orchestral charts, and Lynda sang fantastic vocals on them. Now, I know at the time she said, "What are you doing to me, John? You're making me into Julie friggin' Andrews." Well, kinda. But even today, I think these productions have merit, particularly Half Heaven, Half Heartache. Okay, so I walk him down the block, give him to Harvey Cooper, and Harvey says, what have you done? I said, what? And he said, I still can't promote it. It's too sweet. It's what? Well, it wasn't Knock Three Times or Oh My Candida or Sweet City Woman or the other stuff that Bill was promoting at the time. So I thought, okay, Harvey, what do you want me to do? Go back in and try again. So I have to go to Steve Bender, my boss at Talent Associates, and say, do we have permission to go back in and try one more time? And he said, yeah, and it'll make an entire album. If it's successful, we got an album ready. And, okay, so we go back in, and the main focus was on a Merrily Rush tune that had been a, I don't know, top 10 record, maybe even better, could have been a number one, Angel of the Morning. And this time we had Ed Green, the drummer, who was doing a lot of Motown work at the time, playing drums on it. And Steve Foreman arranged and conducted it. And Steve became later on a famous, not just percussionist, but he did scores for movies. If you look him up, Steve Foreman, he's legendary. And last I heard, he was also teaching at Oxford University in London. So Steve arranged Angel of the Morning, and Lynda came in, and her lead vocal on the rhythm track was so good that we used it. And I know for sure that we used the tag. I believe we used the whole thing. But I'm going to play you the tag. And you can hear what she sang live when the band was playing, and it's just wonderful stuff. And now we had something that wasn't as sweet and sappy. The Blossoms, Darlene Love and the Blossoms, the famous background group and recording artists, sang background on it. And we had something that had energy, it cooked, and I was happy to take it into Harvey. So here we go. Here's an excerpt of Angel of the Morning.
You gotta call me Angel of the Morning, Angel. Then slowly I turn away from me. You turn away from me. Oh yeah, you gotta call me Angel.
Okay, so I walk this into Harvey, and Harvey says, that's much better. So I thought, okay, finally Lynda gets her shot. We are 3 sessions in, this is several months later, and finally she's going to have a record released. Wrong. So what happened was, and I've told this in a previous clip, is that Larry Utah, the president of Bell Records, was in town, and he asked me and Gabriel Meckler, who was Three Dog Night's producer, to bring in our new artists. Gabriel had one, and I had one with Lynda, and to play our picks for single for those 2 artists. We did. I thought Lynda hit hers out of the park. I didn't like Gabriel's, and I'm not being prejudiced, I just didn't like it. And I called Lynda and I said, Lynda, we hit this one out of the park. Angel of the Morning, I'm positive, is going to be coming out soon. It played very well in front of the president of Bell Records, Larry Utah. Almost immediately, I got a call from Larry saying, we have decided to drop Talent Associates records altogether. We're not going to distribute them anymore. And thus, we're also not going to record Lynda Seals, whose record, frankly, Angel of the Morning, I don't care for that much. I thought, oh my goodness. Now, the thing with being a producer is that you got to make the phone call, just like a doctor would do if he has bad news for a patient. And I called Lynn and I said, you're not going to believe this. We still have a record label in Talent Associates, but we have no distribution anymore. And I'm afraid that this is going to be the end of Talent Associates Records. Talent Associates Records had as their core Lambert and Potter, the famous producers, singer-songwriters, me, Seals and Crofts, One Tin Soldier, which was a big hit record, 5 Flights Up, and Lynda Seals. And at that point, Talent Associates kind of folded its tent and went away, and Lynda Seals records are, to this day, in a vault somewhere gathering dust. Nothing ever came out, full albums worth of stuff, 2 6/8 ballads, a couple of Gene Pitney cuts, and Angel of the Morning, plus some others. Okay, I think it's a sad story, and I knew deep in my heart that I wanted to help her get past this and get another record deal. This was just not acceptable. This was almost beyond bad luck. This was fate intervening, and all of a sudden My little 17-year-old girl with a mature voice had just bottomed out, no fault of her own, politics, record industry politics. So that is 1971 with Lynda Seals. 3 full sessions cut, nothing released, sessions gathering dust in a vault somewhere. Okay, end of that story.